Howdy, howdy, howdy do, Who fans? Welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And welcome to episode 272.
Yes.
One day, I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
Our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting thing. Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
You may be a doctor, but I'm the doctor. The definite article, you might say.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the doctor!
For now, for this moment, I am the doctor again.
The ground beneath our feet is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, and the entire planet is hurtling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour, and I can feel it. We're falling through space, you and me.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
I could be a curator. I'd be great at curating. I'd be the great curator. I could retire and do that.
I'm the doctor. I've lived for over 2,000 years, and not all of them were good. I've made many mistakes, and it's about time that I did something about that.
Bit of adrenaline, dash of outrage, and a hint of panic knitted my brain back together. I know exactly who I am. I'm the Doctor. Sorting out fair play throughout the universe.
Howdy, howdy do. Doctor Who fans, hope you all had a cracking week and that you've all managed to do something Doctor Who related.
Yeah. Well done for remembering what ep we're on, by the way, because we normally confirm that just before we start. And as we were building up to that in the intro, I thought, we haven't done it.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
on the ball. You're on the ball today.
No worries, mate. No worries.
Got it covered.
Yep. So I hope all of our listeners are keeping well, keeping safe. Make sure you're still observing the 2 metre rule, even though lockdown has eased a little bit here in the UK anyway. Make sure you keep that 2 metres. Got annoyed with somebody yesterday.
Was it in a supermarket by any chance?
Of course, yeah.
Was it? All right, yeah.
Yeah. Yep, so I'm obeying the rules, as we all should be. And some woman, her name's probably Karen, stands about, I'd say, I don't know, about 40 centimetres away from me the whole time as I'm queuing to go in. So I keep looking round over my shoulder, giving her the hint like, back off a bit, back off a bit.
Yeah.
Back up, come on. Bit more room. Wider berth, please. But no, she's just not a care in the world. So I just turned around casually and said, did you mind just giving a bit more space, please? A little bit. I think her eyes rolled back so far in her head. They probably ended up looking out the back of her head. It was like, oh, come on.
Why is it so difficult for people? I don't, because everywhere I've been, I've got annoyed because no one is social distancing at all, especially supermarkets. So when they're being watched going in, they'll sort of keep a bit of a distance. As soon as they go in, it's like, free for all. But why is it so difficult? Why can't people? It's almost as if it's like that childish thing of, no, I won't do what I'm told. Isn't it? It's just like, why can't you just keep a distance? And why would you not want to?
Strange. That rebellious nature. Yeah. Oh, we nearly reached you for the rant jingle within the first 2 minutes of the podcast. I was going to say, here we go. Steady. I should have carried the Sonic around with me a bit more often, I think.
Yeah, you should, yeah.
Yeah, that'll do
I'm
it.
going to start taking this out with me.
Oh, crikey.
Listeners can't see this, but I found this the other week. I'm not really going to take that. It's a replica gun. And written on the side of it, it says the Equalizer. This was the sort of toys we got when I was a kid.
Yeah,
it's actually a child's toy. But yeah, from the TV show The Equalizer, starring the brilliant Edward Woodward. And I found this the other day and I was like, oh, it's my old Equalizer gun. But I think I was about 12 when I got this. Now I'm going to start taking it out.
It wasn't from the equally brilliant Arnie film, The Equalizer. No.
No, I don't know that one.
No, you wouldn't. I was joking. It's a terrible Arnie film.
Yeah. No, I had that, and I've been toys when I was young were probably considered, some of them would be considered inappropriate now, like, you know, the Commando knife set and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Was it Commando? That was a Arnie film.
That was Arnie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Rambo knives and everything.
That's it. Oh, that's it. Yeah. The Rambo sets. I had all of that. Yeah. So, but yeah, I just happened to find this toy gun. I've got it on my desk just in case we get any burglars. I'm sure the Equalizer sticker won't give away this toy.
When I was younger, my next door, this is a completely random and not Doctor Who related, but when I was younger, my next door neighbour, she had a complete mental breakdown, screaming at the top of her lungs one morning. As you know, in the summer holidays, this is going to sound really, really old now, but back in the day. So back in the day in the UK, when it was the school holidays and you got your 6 weeks off, I remember it just being really hot and sunny the whole summer break. So anyway, it was those mornings where you just used to go out all the time. So when we were kids, it was just right, open the back door or go out and play, do whatever. So one morning, our next door neighbour was yelling at the top of her lungs, screaming, give that back, you're going to hurt yourself. And the young lad who lived next door to us, he's only about 5, he had got somehow, either from another neighbour's kids, a Rambo plastic knife, but his mum had never seen it before, so she thought he was legging around the garden with a full-on...
I can remember the Rambo knife so clearly because it had the big jagged edges, didn't it? God, yeah, I can't believe I had a toy of that.
Yeah. It was crazy, because we thought this little lad was about to stab himself or his sister, but just a toy knife, it'll do.
Just a toy. Yeah, but we turned out all right, didn't we? We didn't do us any harm, did it?
Well, let's not.
I can remember driving my neighbour mad with I loved the theme to Dempsey and Makepeace.
Oh, yes.
And for some reason, I recorded it off the telly. Now, when you used to do that, I recorded it using a cassette player next to the TV. Yep. And then I looped it over and over because I think it was quite short. And I looped it over and over again. And I just remember playing it in the back garden. And I was oblivious. I was just loving it. I was just, I love this theme. And just kept going over and over again. And in the end, she went, could you turn that blimmin' thing on? She went mad. I was like, oh, well, I didn't see you there. Yeah, I love that theme. I wonder if I can download it. I'll have a look, see.
Yeah, talking of doing that stuff, dude. I remember when I was a lad.
Welcome to the Reminiscent podcast.
Well, of course, yeah. So when I was a lad, you just mentioned about recording off the TV to a videotape.
Yeah.
I used to, I had the old Red Dwarf video VHS tapes when I was younger. And I remember there's on one of the episodes called Parallel Universe, I think it's series 2 or 3, I can't remember. It opens up with the cat singing a song called Tongue Tied. And I remember connecting my old hi-fi cassette tape thing. So on the back of our VHS player, it had these red and white audio outputs, so you could connect it to a hi-fi or speakers or something. I remember running that into my tape deck and pressing play and record on the VHS video player and that. And I just looped it round and round again. So I had Tongue Tied by the cat, just played for about, 45 minutes worth of... But... Dude, what a time when you had to do that stuff. It's not like now where it's like, okay, I'm just going to drag this MP3 from that folder to that folder, or I'm just going to fire up Spotify. It was like a completely different, way different time. Crikey.
It was. I can genuinely, I remember me and my cousin used to tape Doctor Who off the TV, the soundtracks. I can remember doing that. And I also remember at one point so I had a couple of script books. They released 4 or 5 script books at one point for like, the Daleks and the Daemons and I think it was Tribe of Gum, but Unearthly Child. So I had the script books. I remember me and my cousin recording, like trying to reenact them and recording them on an old cassette player as well. But yeah, I do remember recording soundtracks off the TV. And it's weird because I think we were doing the like the Sylvester McCoy ones. We were recording the soundtrack from them off the TV, but I'm thinking, don't know why, because you could just watch it, but we like to have the soundtrack. It was weird.
No, I read you, mate.
We just used to love all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I did that with the. This is really weird, but with the old Star Wars films, I did a similar thing when I was a wee lad.
Oh yeah,
I used to record these little segments of music from the Star Wars films. So I ended up with this tape that had like a maybe 10, 15 seconds worth of music, and then one of the characters would start talking. then I'd cut it there. And then when the next bit of music came on, so I had this like really weird cut together
soundtrack.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, dude, I absolutely loved that. I think I did it with a bunch of TV stuff as well. I had like the Wurzel Gummidge theme tune.
Oh, well, he had a few
Knight
songs,
Rider.
didn't he?
Yeah.
Great days.
Those were the days.
Tell you, going off a bit of a tangent here, you'll know this. There was I remember, because I'm back I've gone right back now. This is like regression therapy.
The retro podcast.
I've gone straight back to my cousin's front room where we used to watch all the Doctor Who and stuff. And I remember he had a Star Wars vinyl with like a really camp disco version of the theme that we used to love, and I know his dad used to hate it. My uncle used to hate it. It was a dun, dun,
oh, dude.
Dun, 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 but it had like a sort of funky, almost like Bee Gees backing track. And I was, do you know what that is? Because I remember we played that to death.
I have to shamelessly plug.
Or something.
I have to shamelessly plug my other podcast in answer to your question. That my other podcast that I do, which is the Star Wars one, which is called Spark of Rebellion. We use that music. We use that music for our intro and outro.
Yes. Is it the Love Orchestra?
Yes.
Yeah, gotcha. Got you. Yeah.
So I know that music. I've listened to that over the years. It is quite cringe, but it's quite funky at the same time.
It is funky. Yeah.
Crikey.
Go and check out that podcast, if only for the music. If only for the theme.
Yeah, the music will get you going.
Yeah, it is cracking.
Yeah. Right. We're done walking down memory lane. We're good.
Yeah.
Coming up in today's show, we've got naff all, really.
Not a lot. No.
We have skimmed the interwebs and all the rest of it.
We've furloughed Dalek Tack because we don't need any merch.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I'm glad he's off for a week.
Oh.
Bloody hell. Would it kill you? No. You're just going to smile at anything? No.
Mm-hmm.
The weather's nice. No. After last time with your sunburnt tentacle, he's staying out of the sun. So he's off. Don't know where he is,
off
actually.
for a week. No.
Haven't seen him for a whole day. So, I don't know. So we've got no merch. We've got no news. The only things we were going to mention are like little things that didn't really warrant the whole jingle to go through all that stuff. So those of you might have seen the Blu-ray collection special edition box sets, the re-release of season 14, which is quite cool. I think that was announced a few days ago now, or a week ago, maybe just under a week ago. And I think it's all sold out anyway. So I think they were doing it over at Amazon.
Again.
Yeah. Amazon, Zoom, HMV, I think had some, but they've all gone. So hopefully you managed to bag one if you didn't before. And then the other thing was the Rory's getting his own story at Big Finish called The Last Centurion.
Yeah.
Which sounds kind of cool, but that's not out until middle of next year-ish.
We'll probably come back to that.
Yeah, exactly.
To the time.
Yeah, we'll come back to that stuff. So we've got no news and merch, and then we're going to get on to our review of the Sarah Jane Adventures as we close out Series 3. Which I'm gutted about, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so we haven't got much going on. So have you done anything Doctor Who-y?
Well, we're recording quite early this week because obviously I'm back to work. So my days off of being restricted now in terms of when we can record. So it's we're recording this on Tuesday. So it was only a couple of days ago since I last spoke to you, and I haven't done a lot. I'll be honest with you. But one good thing that happened, which happened today. This morning was I got a delivery from our old friends at Forbidden Planet.
Yay!
And now that was nice to see because we've been worried about those guys because the website was cyber attacked and everyone was getting worried because they weren't really informing people what was happening, and we thought they'd closed down and orders weren't being processed, and it was all it was a bit of a nightmare. So yeah, this is an order that I placed months ago, ages ago. But anyway, yeah, so it was really nice to actually see that lovely, distinctive Forbidden Planet parcel arrive today. And it was a couple of Doctor Who bits. It was I get the Doctor Who figurine magazines, which has the magazine and a figure on the front. So it was a Revenge Cyberman. So the Cyberman from Revenge of the Cybermen. He's pretty cool. He's like carrying that, whatever it is, that big silver radio thing that he's got in. So I don't know what it is. And a Vok robot was the other issue, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
SV7 to be precise. So a couple of little figurines turned up. What else was in that box? Oh, a retro Star Wars figure that I was talking to you about of Luke. Got the Luke figure. Yeah, I can't think. There was something else. Oh, a couple of comics and that stuff. So I got that. It's lovely to see Forbidden Planet back in action because I do love those guys. Really looking forward to going in the store. But I saw the picture yesterday of people queued around the block to get into. I mean, I knew they would be, but yeah, Forbidden Planet this is. They posted a picture literally queued around the block to get in there. So I'm going to let that settle down, but can't wait to go back in there. I had a big finish delivery of Susan's War, which I've listened to. Very good. Highly recommend it. It's so nice to get the physical thing. And again, great to see Big Finish getting back into their stride with deliveries. And also, the Underwater Menace vinyl turned up. And I tell you what, I think it's the best one in terms of because I love those. You know, they've done a few of them. They did like the Daleks Master Plan and what was the other ones they've done? Forget now. The Zarbi one and stuff. This one's a thinner because they're normally in quite a big box because they're normally like 4 or 5 vinyls. This is just a double vinyl set in a sort of normal vinyl packaging, but it's a beautiful. The cover's beautiful and the actual splatter vinyl. I think it's called Volcanic Splatter or something. It just looks brilliant, and so it's the cheapest one you can get. I think it's about 25 quid. And I think it's my favourite one that they've done in terms of the packaging. I haven't listened to it yet because I've been slightly put off because the DVD's the one with the terrible telly snaps. I really struggled to watch the DVD, but it might be better just listening to it. So quite looking forward to that. But just as a thing that turns up and you know when you open something and it's just absolutely beautiful, it really is. It's a really, really nice vinyl of the Underwater Menace. I'm chuffed to bits of it. And it arrived with no dents in it. I saw a few people that had got theirs delivered damaged and I was dreading it. I thought, oh, God. But no, it's really, really nice.
Cool.
So, yeah. So lots of deliveries, lots of nice things turning up. But I haven't been able to watch anything or do anything Doctor Who related, to be honest. Not since we last spoke.
Okay, cool.
It's been gearing up to go back to work.
Yeah. The old back to work crap.
Yeah, get back to it, yeah.
Yeah, I feel you on the Forbidden Planet visiting the store because I was looking at, because where I am up in Rugby, there's a couple that are relatively close. So the Coventry one's quite close. It's probably about 20 minutes from here, not too bad. Or I could go a bit further afield up to Birmingham, but they're not the biggest stores though, that's the thing. So the issue's even more compounded. So in the London one, which is fairly sizable, I think we spoke about this last week, the London one, which is fairly sizable, even that, you would really struggle to maintain your 2 meters and all that stuff just because there physically isn't 2 meters around the aisles and stuff. So that's going to be a way. I can imagine there is a queue right around the block. So I was thinking of at the weekend making a trip to one of the local ones, but I don't know. I'd have to sort of go for when it opens where it's hopefully quiet or actually no, because they've changed the opening hours now, haven't they? So they open at 11. I've
been to the Birmingham one fairly recently. Well, not recently, but before the lockdown, obviously. And it's the first time I've ever been in there. And it's initially you think it's quite small because you go in and it's quite long and it feels like there's not much in there, doesn't it? It's like, it felt quite clinical, very clean. It's just very spaced out. So, but then you go downstairs and actually there's more. It's a bit like a TARDIS in a way. It's much more room in there than you'd think. But yeah, the London one, I mean, surely they will have had to have moved a few units out because you wouldn't be able to get in there otherwise. You wouldn't be able to social distance in there.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. Yeah.
If they're doing a one-way system as well, it'd be really awkward, wouldn't it?
Actually, talking of the Birmingham megastore, you're right. It is very clinical, that one. It's a very when they had it refit, I assume a few years back now, they must have had it all done nice because all the floor's very shiny and all the shelves are quite new and stuff. But it's the last photo. I remember in the Birmingham store, it was the last photo I took of the Doctor Who display in a Forbidden Planet store that actually looked fairly decent. I think
that's right.
Yeah.
Very small, but yeah, they're very neat.
I think it was like 2018, maybe 29. I can't remember, or early last year. I can't remember. I remember going downstairs and thinking, crikey, they got quite a decent Doctor Who section, not like the Cabinet of Woe at the London one.
Which has now been ripped off the wall, by the way. It's not even there anymore. They've actually finally just, right, printed off and thrown it across the shop into a skip.
Yeah, I mean, there's no excuse for the London one really, because that's the flagship. That's the one where all the tourists flock to. All of the, like, unless you're into like indie comics and smaller other bits and pieces where you go to some of the other there's other comic book shops in London, obviously, but that's the one where everyone flocks to. You'd have thought that they'd put a little bit of money into the displays, because some of them, not just the Cabinet of Woe, which is thankfully no longer there, but just a lot of the other shelves look old and tired and a bit battered.
Yeah.
You'd have thought they'd have spruced it up a bit by now. It's been like that for years.
Did you ever go to their other location before so not the one that we know now, but they used to be at the sort of very top end of Oxford Street?
Yes.
Did you ever go to that one?
Yeah. I used to go there years ago. Yeah.
Because from what I remember, you used to have to go downstairs, but I got really vague memories of it. But
yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, this one is a lot larger. The one that they've been at for years now is larger, and it does look cool, especially from the outside, because I really like the walk up to Forbidden Planet from Leicester Square. It's a really cool walk, and then you see the sign and you think, right, the wallet's going to get a slap in a minute because you get sort of rubbing your hands. But then when you get in there, it's like, oh, okay, most of it's cool, but I don't know. I know that the MDs and the senior managers listen, so just get some new shelving in there and some new flooring, maybe spruce it up a bit.
I am really looking for. I must admit, I'm going to leave it a while because just let everything die down. But I am looking forward to going there. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to when BFI starts up again. And I'm looking forward to when we can all get together and just have a drink somewhere. Because I think those are the sort of three things that I've sort of really missed over the last sort of couple of months.
Yeah.
Because obviously the pubs can't open yet, and I don't even know how that's going to work. They're going to have to relax the rule and stuff. But yeah, I know we've still got a bit of time. We've got to let stuff settle down. But those are the three things that I keep in the back of my mind. I can't wait to happen. FP, BFI, pub. In that order.
Well, we can do probably two of those. Actually, yeah, the next Big Blue Box meetup, we'll do a London trip, go to FP, then go to the pub.
Yeah.
Get two of them checked off.
Yeah, I can't wait. I literally can't wait to do that. I'm thinking, because LFCC's obviously been pushed right back till September, is it?
November,
is it? Yeah, because that's normally over my birthday weekend. So I'm sort of thinking, well, that's not happening now, but hopefully we can have a little get together on my birthday, around that time. So that's the end of July. So hopefully things will have just settled down a little bit by then. Yeah. Go and blow all some birthday money on 1 billion blind boxes and just sit in a pub opening them all day.
Yeah, that's so funny. Shopping
that'd
with
be
Adam.
my perfect birthday, that would.
Shopping with Adam in FP is so funny. It's like, right, I'm just going to go and look at these Star Wars figures. All right, dude. I'm just going to go off and look at this. And then literally I'll be off looking at something for maybe a minute and a half. And when I go back round the aisle, I see Adam's got like a basket full of like random little figures and blind boxes and
love
bags.
Blind boxes. I just love them. They're like I would say borderline addicted to. Like even with this delivery, whenever I do online delivery from FP, I always add a blind box, just something to have one in there. The one I got today is a Godzilla one. I haven't opened him yet.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't hear this. Oh, literally a Godzilla, as in
it's a blind box Godzilla, and there's about 10 of them, 10 different variants. So
you're going to get all of them.
I know, yeah.
You might know you've started.
Love blind boxes.
Yeah. The other funny thing as well is, I think it was actually the last time we were in there. Similar thing happened. I went off to look at something, and then I looked across at you from the other part of the shop. All I saw was you sort of your back to everybody. And then you just sort of turned your head now and then, looked over your shoulder. I thought, what's he doing over there? So I went over there. You're like shaking all the boxes, having a feel. It's like, yeah, this one's quite heavy. That's not a TARDIS, that one. Let's put that back. No, I can feel that. It's probably River. Let's put that back. He's like going through all these boxes.
So would you if you'd got 20 Rivers?
20 Rivers.
Oh, God. I remember that wave of Doctor Who figures. And I got about 20 of the blimmin' same Riversong figure. No, I know, yeah. That doesn't work either, because I remember they did a Spider-Man blind box, and I remember shaking all these. I spent ages because I really wanted, what was he called? The Jake Gyllenhaal character.
Mysterio.
What's he called?
Mysterio.
Mysterio. Yeah, I really wanted the Mysterio figure. I was like, oh, does that sound like? Oh, that could be his big bulbous fish tank head shaking. Anyway, it got what I thought was 4 different, weights of box. Or yeah, they're definitely different. Even if they're not Mysterio, they're definitely different weight. And then I went to the pub, opened them, and I got 4 blimmin' MJs.
Oh no!
I was like, how is that possible? I spent ages, and they all felt different. Like, you shake, you think, oh, that's a bigger one, that's a smaller figure. They were all 4 MJ, so that doesn't work, unfortunately. I've had better luck when I've literally gone in, picked one up, and threw it in.
Well, that's the thing, I think, with the blind bags and the blind boxes. I think your mind just plays tricks with you. I think your mind is is telling you what you want to hear. It's like you're feeling it. It's like, oh, that's heavy, so that must mean it's that one or that one.
Yeah.
And it's obviously not.
Absolutely true.
Yeah. I remember we had a trip down and we opened up a load of them in the pub afterwards. I had a pretty good run, that one. I think I had 2 or 3 what are they, chase figures are they called? Chase variants, whatever.
Chase.
Yeah, that was sweet, that one. I still got those somewhere.
The 2 sets that have driven me up the wall is they did a Sherlock series, and I kept getting blimmin' Watson, but the same one. There was about 4 variants of Watson. I kept getting the same one, and the Fraggle Rock. I love Fraggle Rock, and I just cannot get the Gobo. I just keep buying them, and I keep getting the same blimmin' figures. I've had to stop buying the Fraggle Rock ones because I'm not going to get him. Oh, they're such good figures as well. I've looked on eBay to try and get him. I'm like, I just can't get him.
Classic.
I've got 2 reds, and I've got about 6 of the little minor figures, whatever they're called. I just can't get them. These could go. Yeah. Anyway, the doozers. Yeah, I've got about 6 doozers. There's only 2 different ones, but I've got 6 of them.
That's a name that rings a bell. I've not had that in years. Doozer.
Yeah, I mean, they're cool little things, but yeah, I just wanted Gobo. He's my favourite.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough of that.
Yeah, enough of that. So you've had you've not done anything, but you've had some cool stuff turn up.
Yeah, the old wallet's taken a bashing, but then why the heck not?
Then again, back to normal life. Wallet's
exactly.
Taken
Things are getting back to normal. It feels like in a way.
Yeah, I'm skint
normal,
again.
But with adjustments, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. I haven't done anything. Yeah, I was going to say, we're skint again, so back to normal life. Yeah,
back to normal.
I haven't done anything, buddy. I've watched a couple of episodes, and that's it. After the Impossible Astronaut and Day of the Moon, kind of got the vibe from Matt Smith, as we frequently do when we watch Matt Smith. So I just went on and watched The Curse of the Black Spot, and then the Doctor's Wife. Those 2. I didn't want to carry on because of Rebel Flesh. And what's the next one? The Almost People. That's a 2-parter. So I thought, it's getting late. I can't watch those now. So I finished with The Doctor's Wife. But that was kind of cool, going back and revisiting those ones. I haven't seen much of episode series 6 in ages.
No, it's not a series I go back to much as well. And I was saying to you before we kicked off the podcast that we've obviously got no filming news. Nothing much is happening in terms of Doctor Who news. But it's weird because I am missing the show, obviously, but I haven't got that same, like I remember when we were told there was going to be a massive gap for Capaldi, and we kept counting down, didn't we? Sit another 6 months till series 10, but it's going to be worth it. But I don't have that same. I'm not sort of biting at the bit for the next series, and that worries me slightly. I'm not like you said earlier. I'm sure once we start getting teasers and we see filming pics, I'll be like right back into it, and I can't wait. But I'm not really missing Doctor Who at the minute, which worries me slightly. Maybe it's because I'm filling my time with the classic series and stuff like that. But I'm not sort of desperate for it to return. I'll be glad when it does, but I'm not on the edge of my seat thinking, where's the new series of Doctor Who? I'm just not.
No, I read you, mate. Yeah,
maybe when we get a few bits in, I might be up, more excited.
Yeah, no, I'm the same, mate. I think it's a combination of because we run the podcast and we have to watch something Doctor Who every week.
Yeah,
that fills the time. So it's like, okay, this week we're watching this classic episode, or it's Torchwood, whatever it might be. So we're watching something to do with Who every week anyway. And then the other thing is, I think it's just that weird even though lockdown stuff has eased a little bit, I think we're still in that weird limbo-y period where it's like, when's this ever going to end? Are we ever going to see any Doctor Who news? You know, they're going to give us any... Are they going to resume filming and production, all that stuff? There's just radio silence from the Beeb as always. So it's like, okay, well, until they sort all that stuff out, whatever. When it happens, like you said.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Okie dokie, dude. Before we crack on with our review, welcome aboard to the TARDIS. Any new listeners, it's great to have you here. Anyone that's listened to us for ages, welcome back. Always good, as always. If you don't subscribe to the show, make sure you do that on whatever podcast app you listen to your podcast on. Head over to the website, bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. There are links to all of those things on there. Plus, there's links to the socials. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Connect with us over there via the website, or just do a search for us on there. We chat Doctor Who during the week, so it would be great to have you over there and connect with all the other core Who fans. And we've got a free Discord server as well. There's a link to that on the website. Come and hang out and chat Doctor Who there. Plus, go and check out all the awesome vids on Adam's channel over on YouTube, The Geek's Handbag.
Yeah, Geek's Handbag, yeah.
Loads of cool vids there. In this weather, get yourself a beer or a nice cold drink and settle in. Loads and loads of cool vids from Adam. And he's on the socials as well, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Always a laugh and loads of stuff going on those things each week. So come and jump on there. Right, dude. Review time. What we got?
Yes, indeed. So, yeah, we're finishing up Series 3 of the Sarah Jane Adventures, and this two-part is called The Gift.
Stand back, Miss Smith. This little plant could save millions of lives.
Will you be our ambassador? Our raccoon will change your planet forever.
How's the pot plant? Savage to anyone in the night?
The ragweed is not harmless.
I can see that. There's a great big flower sticking out of it now.
Oh, I'm so tired.
What's this?
The plant appears to have mutated. It will send its victims into a deep, deep coma from which they will never return.
No? Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith, you were a bit late to the ball on that one.
Yeah, he was, wasn't he? I'd sack him.
Take that tux back. So then, the last episode of Series 3, The Gift. It stars the normal attic crew at this point, and a couple of small supporting cast members with this one. It was first broadcast on the 19th of November back in 2009, and then the second part was on the 20th of November, so the next day, which is kind of cool. So anyone that's not jumped on the Sarah Jane stuff beforehand, all of the stories for Sarah Jane are all two-parters. So that's how they structure their series. They're all two-part stories. It was written by Rupert Late. It was directed by Alice Troughton. And overseen by Gary Russell.
Oh, yeah.
And the synopsis for this one is when the Slitheen's scheme to destroy Earth has been thwarted by Sarah Jane, another Slitheen family arrived, the Blithareen. They seem helpful at first, but Sarah Jane's a little bit, I don't know if I can trust them or not. As a generous gesture of peace, they gift Sarah Jane and the dudes with a nice plant called ragweed, which seemingly looks harmless. There's no problems there, but it goes nuts, spreads all of its spores everywhere and infects people, namely Luke and a few other people. So there's no cure for this. So Sarah's got to get this sorted out on her own pretty much, because Clyde and Rani are off doing their thing with K9 at the school. So Sarah Jane's got to save the Earth as well as Luke and all the rest of it. That's pretty much a synopsis for this one. So closing out Series 3, dude, what do you reckon to The Gift?
The Gift, it's not one we've heard much about, is it? In terms of there are a lot of Sarah Jane episodes that people rave about, and when we get to it, people say, "Oh, you're going to love this one." And this one just didn't seem to get much reaction, and I think I can see why. It's a fun watch. and it feels to me a bit like a sort of mid-season filler episode, really. It's not to say it wasn't enjoyable, because it is still fun, and the cast are all great, and it's a good little watch, but it doesn't feel like a sort of end of season finale or anything. There's nothing big about it, and I think, even though I was going to say it's Slitheen, but then there's slightly different in this, the Blithareen, Slitheen or whatever. I think having them back again sort of feels a little bit like, oh, we've done this a couple of times in Sarah Jane. So it was a fun watch. I enjoyed it, but it was a bit middle of the road for me. It's just didn't have that sort of extra edge. I think it's one I'd be quite happy to sit and watch any time. It's fun, but yeah, it's not up there with some of the Sarah Jane stories that I've really, really enjoyed. As I said, it didn't feel like a sort of end of season episode at all, apart from the very last scene, which is beautiful, where they're having dinner in the garden and Sarah Jane does one of her little monologue bits at the end. A beautiful ending to the series. But yeah, it's just a bit middle of the road, this one. Some fun moments. Yeah, very watchable. My biggest problem with it was the way it was very quickly wrapped up, and I thought the fact they were saved by the bell literally was a very easy way to wrap the story up, and that didn't work for me as a conclusion at all, really. But yeah, it's okay. It was a fun watch. That's about as much as I can say, really. A fun watch, but not one of the best Sarah Janes we've had.
Okay, I'll read you. Yeah, The Gift. Yeah, this is I think it does feel a little bit filler, doesn't it? It feels like the kind of story that you would have seen mid-series. As a bit of a fun light. I mean, the only sort of dark element in this, I suppose, is the fact that Luke comes pretty close to dying, I suppose. Even though he should have been killed for listening to some of the music in his room at the time. But
what's he got in there? I can't remember.
I think it's isn't it Everybody in Love by somebody. I can't remember the name of the band who wrote it, but Everybody in Love. Who sung that?
Is that the one? Everybody in. Yeah.
So, anyways, it does feel a bit filler. So that's the only sort of dark moment. The rest of it is a little bit sort of light and fluffy, really, because whenever you're dealing with the Slitheen or the Blithareen in this case, you just expect it to be littered with fart jokes and fart noises and stuff and all that going on. So I wouldn't say it's the best finale we've had for Sarah Jane. Certainly series 1 and 2 finales were pretty sweet. Although I do have a little soft spot for those lovely little bits right at the very end. You know, when you see them out in the garden and it's Sarah Jane's got that nice, she's narrating that nice speech over the top, and so that's kind of nice. But as in terms of a finale as a whole, yeah, it just doesn't quite carry that awesomeness about it that we've seen before. It's still an enjoyable watch. It still has a cool Sarah Jane vibe that you come to expect, which is good. So it's not a disappointing watch at all. It just doesn't quite elevate itself to be like, wow. Like when because I don't know about you, I think we established this a while ago, but I think about 2/3 of the way through series 1, everything post that I've not seen before. So when I got to the end of series 1 and the end of series 2, I was like, holy crap, I cannot wait to get cracking with the next series. With this one, I was like, oh, okay, that was okay, not too bad. And instead of thinking, right, I really want to reach for series 4 now and get that cracking, I was like, well, it'll be cool when we get round to it. And I just hope it's better than this, basically.
I'm glad it has got that ending to it where they're in the garden, because I think my biggest problem with this two-parter is the resolution to it. So the fact that they work out that the school bell is so loud that it affects the plants, so then they amplify it and affect all the plants, but somehow that kills all the infection that's managed to get inside everyone, because that just doesn't really make any sense to me. And then I think there's a joke towards the end where, I mean, basically the Blithareen blow up and goo and gunge goes everywhere, which is all very good considering it's a sort of kids family show. Oh, a bit of gunge. But then I think there's a sort of a line about, oh, they've literally farted himself to death or something. And I don't know, I was just sort of thinking, just the whole resolution to it kind of ruined anything good about it, really. I just thought, oh, it's been wrapped up way too easily. It doesn't really make sense. We've got a fart joke, and I was just a bit, this isn't up there with some of the really good stories that we've had from Sarah Jane. The script wasn't as sharp or witty as well. Some of the, I think we've said before, Phil Ford writes Clyde really well. You can always tell when a different writer's writing Clyde, because they just sort of give him these silly sort of roll your eyes gags and stuff. So the script wasn't as sharp. But yeah, so thankfully we get that nice ending in the garden, which then kind of made up for that a little bit. Because I think if it had just ended on that, I would have been like you, thinking, oh God, that was a bit poor. But they just managed to tug the heartstrings again at the end, which brought me back into it. Yes, yeah, true. I love those endings. We normally get that, don't we? At the end, we have a nice little Sarah Jane moment where she's basically saying how you need to treasure friendship, and it's all great, and all that stuff. So that's really nice. But yeah, I can completely agree. If we hadn't have had that, if we just had the farting themselves to death thing at the end, and also the I must admit, I did quite like the end, because it does. It had that feel of like really old school, late 80s, early 90s kids game shows, and everyone used to get gunged all the time. Yeah. It was it had that feel about it. So I didn't actually mind that, although it was a little bit, the resolution's a bit, come on. But yeah, that was kind of cool though, because they're all just, and they really did get gunged as well, because you can see them constantly dragging it out of their mouth, their eyes, the whole lot. So that was very cool. I didn't mind that. That kind of took me back to a place where every week you were watching people getting gunged. I didn't mind the gunge bit. I think my main thing that I didn't like about the resolution was just how I didn't get why. So I get the amplification of noise made the plants retract, but then how does that affect? Because suddenly, like, Luke was back up on his feet as if nothing had happened. The virus suddenly went away just because the plants retracted, and I thought that doesn't really make any sense. That's just a really quick way of tying up the story, and there was plenty of moments in this where they could have padded out the ending. I mean, there's quite a lot of padding in this. In episode 1, the meal scene is quite fun between the Blithareen and the Sarah Jane, because you kind of know that they're not really good. Something's going to kick off. But yeah, I don't know. There was plenty of room to that ending to not be so rushed, and I just felt like they couldn't think of a way to sort of solve it. So I know there's a loud noise, the plants attracts, and everyone's fine again. It just seems so wishy-washy. I thought, no, the writing in Sarah Jane's normally better than that. The script is normally sharper than that. Yeah, no, it's normally is very convenient. It normally is, for sure. It's normally a bit more, and I think that's one of the good things that we've brought up many times with the Sarah Jane stuff, is that on the surface it looks like a kids show because it went out at a certain time on CBBC, so it looks like just a very, very light and fluffy. But in a lot of stories, there's quite a few dark themes. It goes dark in a few episodes, far beyond what you would think they would write for a kids, for that target audience. The biggest one and the darkest one that I remember is when Clyde's dad turns up. Do you remember that one? And he turns crazy and mental, and although again on the surface it just looks like Clyde's dad's turned into a monster, there's a lot of like emotional family sort of mental health stuff going on in that episode. So you kind of get spoilt a little bit, I think, as we've gone along, Sarah Jane, because they could do every episode like this one, and I guess they kind of did this to a degree. Do you remember the very, very first Invasion of the Bane? Yeah. With that Slitheen story. At the time, we said, this is actually kind of cool because the Slitheen actually suits Sarah Jane because of the whole farty, jokey thing. It does suit the more younger audience, I suppose. But I think as we've gone along,
we've just been spoilt by these really amazing stories that have dived deep into their characters and dealt with issues that you might not have at first thought, well, I wouldn't have thought they would have put that in there because it's a kid's show, but they did. And they didn't allude to it directly, but the themes are there. Like the thematic material of Sarah Jane is very, yes, it's great, but there's also these important things that kind of, I guess, I'm assuming the point is to try and give young people a bit of a lesson in friendship and doing the right thing and all that stuff, and, you know, very light mental health stuff. So this one just doesn't seem to have any of that stuff in there. It's very, I wouldn't say it's shallow, but it just doesn't seem to have much in the way of substance to look behind anything. It's like everything is very visual, slapsticky, direct in your face. There's no depth underneath it. There's nothing there really. Like I said, the only thing that we really have is Sarah Jane being really, really worried about Luke, but we've had that in other episodes as well, so it's not unique to this one. So yeah, it's enjoyable, isn't it? It just doesn't have any, there's no meat on the bones.
Yeah. I was going to say, that's right. I mean, for anyone who hasn't seen this, don't get me wrong, it's still a very enjoyable watch, but that's the thing. Yeah, you're right. Sarah Jane is quite often written, although it's aimed at a younger family audience, it often has a bit of an edge to it that's it's very well written series so far. It's a very intelligent series. So behind all the sort of slapstick and fun, there's often another level there, whereas this episode didn't really have any of that. It felt like it could easily have fitted into sort of series 1, where they're sort of still just a little bit trying to find their feet, although I think we both agree Sarah Jane Adventures finds its feet very quickly, actually. So it starts, I think, Invasion of Bane, maybe a little bit kiddie, but then it soon sort of gets into its stride. So yeah, I think that's the thing with this one. I think that's why it felt more of a sort of mid-series or even earlier series two-parter, because it just didn't have that extra layer of sort of intelligence in the script, if you like. It was just a fun watch. It's kind of like if you hadn't seen Sarah Jane and you were sort of the perception of the show that you might have if you'd never watched it, I think that if you then watch this as the first episode that you ever watched, it's kind of exactly what you'd expect. Whereas we know there's a lot more to this series than this. So yeah. I'd put this sort of in the sort of Invasion of the Bane sort of category of, you know, it's fun, it's good, but it's just not as good as a lot of the other stories, which really do impress, and have impressed us a lot as we've watched them. Yes, indeedy. Yeah, that's what I mean. We've been spoilt to a degree. We've had so many good episodes. They all can't be great, can they? Let's be realistic about it. No, I think that's the thing. We've said that, haven't we? That we've had no story that we thought was bad at all. So we've gone through 3 series, and this is probably, you're right, we have been spoiled, because this is still a good 2-parter, and yet I'm thinking to myself, it's probably one of the worst Sarah Jane episodes, but it's actually still good. So that sort of tells you something about the rest of the episodes that we've watched up to this point, doesn't it? You're right, we've just been spoiled. They've been of such a high standard that this one, even though it's still good, feels like it's not, because we're comparing it to the others. You're right. Yeah, we've just been a bit spoiled, I think. With 3 series on, and we've had some belting stories. This one just falls a little bit to the side, I think. A little bit. I think this is the closest we've had, the closest we've come to a clanger. And it's certainly not a clanger, but I think it's not a clanger, no. No, I think this is the closest we've come to it, to that end of the scale, I suppose. What did you think too? So the main villain or alien monster, whatever, in the story is, to begin with, the Slitheen. What did you think to introducing another species from that planet then? Because up to this point, we assumed that the Slitheen were it. They were the one species inhabitants from that planet. So what did you think to having another one? And then we learn also that they're actually all part of an alliance called the Raxus, which is a collection of 4 planets and species. So what did you think to all that stuff, introducing a bit more info to that planet? Yeah, I think we needed that, because we've had the Slitheen in Doctor Who and also in Sarah Jane a couple of times already. So it definitely needed to have that extra sort of edge to it. They're quite funny. I had no idea. I've only just realised that was Miriam Margolyes. in that. So I can't believe I've only just realised that, because I love her. I think she's amazing. Yeah, no, I thought that was good. And I think they looked quite good as well until they sat down. Because the first thing I wrote on my pad was, the Slitheen look better in this story than they did in Doctor Who. Because, it's a few years on, they've altered the suits a little bit, and they actually look very good, even though they're big rubbery suits. They look pretty good. But then it kind of gets ruined when they sit down and the costume folds over in the middle, and then suddenly it looks very rubbery, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I didn't notice at first.
Oh.
I didn't notice at first, but then you can't unsee it. It's one of those things that when you notice it, you can't unsee it. And then you think afterwards, am I thinking too much about this? Because there's probably not a lot they could have done about it, really, because the bulk of times that you ever see the Slitheen is they're always standing up and running around. So when you have to sit them down, it's crazy. And do you know what? It's little things like that are a real headache for people that make TV and films, much more than you would think. So I think there has to be a point where they just say, look, we're just going to have to run with this. I know it looks like it's a large piece of foam that's been folded over, which it is. But I tell you what, dude, it's a massive thing. And what reminded me of it actually is anyone that's got Disney Plus that's watched the behind the scenes shows for The Mandalorian.
Yeah, yes, I've done. Yeah,
yeah. There's a series called the Gallery, which is like behind the scenes stuff, and they go through this thing where they're going through they're setting up a scene in this sort of mini cantina, and they have this long discussion around the Mandalorian couldn't just come in and sit down because the way his armor was designed around his hips and his legs and stuff, it just doesn't bend that way. So they've set everything up and they're like, yeah, you're just going to come in and sit down. And he can't. So they're stuck with that decision. Like, do they alter the armor? But that's going to affect consistency. Do they fudge it somehow? Does he wear just Bermuda shorts for underneath? So that stuff is a pretty big headache for producers and filmmakers and TV makers and stuff, more than we realise. Like to you and I, it's like, the costumes, it looks rubbish when they're sat down. They probably had a headache over that for hours. But they what can you do though? There's nothing. You could design a whole nother costume in like sitting down mode that doesn't do that. You can't do that. You haven't got the money and time to do that.
It's a shame because they do look so good when they're first in there. I thought, they do the little eyes opening and shutting effect, and they just look a bit more weathered, and the costumes look a bit more weathered and realistic. I thought they look really good in this, and then they sit down, and like you said, unfortunately, then the suit folds over. You think, that's a shame. And I think the other problematic thing in terms of production is when they have to eat. It's a bit like watching a school play, isn't it? They have to pretend to sort of like they're sucking at the food, but nothing is happening. I thought, that's a shame, because that also it also shows up the limitations of the suit. Mm-hmm. But like you said, I don't know how they could have got around that, really. Especially on a show that probably didn't have a particularly big budget, I wouldn't imagine. So, yeah, problematic, not exactly. I know what you mean. I mean, I know we shouldn't even worry about these things. It's more of an observation than it didn't bother me at all. But I just sort of thought, it's a shame because they looked so good at the start.
Yeah, no, they did. What do you prefer? Do you prefer the green Slitheen, or do you prefer the more orangey, sort of burnt orange Blithareen?
Well, this is the thing, you see. I can't tell the difference. And I don't know if that's down to my colour blindness or what, but when he said, is it Clyde that says, you're a different colour or something? In my head, I was thinking, are they? I can't see it. To me, they look the same.
Oh, you can. Oh, because of your colour blindness, you couldn't couldn't tell.
See. No, I wouldn't. Right. If he hadn't have said it in the script, I wouldn't have even known they were different colour.
Oh, right.
So what are they? Because Slitheen are green, aren't they? Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So what colour are these guys? Because they look a sort of, they just look like a dirtier green to me.
Oh, right. They're like a sort of dark orangey, like I don't know, like Ron seal, like when someone's been out in the sun for like 5 years.
Yeah.
And they've got that real dark tan colour. It looks like that kind of colour.
I probably could if you put one of the original Slitheen next to it, so I could see the difference. I'm sure I would be able to tell. But no, up until that point in the script when he said it, I didn't even realise they were a different colour. Yeah, it's basically an orangey colour, essentially. Yeah, but no, I quite like the orange colour because it was just something new and shiny and different. It was like, we got some new, even though they look the same anatomically, they've just got this different colour. So
It was cool. It's like, oh, we've got some new ones.
Mm-hmm.
Some new ones. Yeah, I think I prefer the Blithareen. They're a cooler colour.
Yeah, I was going to say, in terms of look-wise, I mean, I can't really see the colour, but I could see they were slightly different, I suppose, in some respects. So, yeah, I liked the look of them at the start. So, was Miriam Margolis actually in that suit, or did she just do the voice? I'm assuming she just did the voice. Or was she in it?
No, she just did the voice because...
Oh, she did? All right.
Yeah, so Paul Casey was in the suit.
Oh, there's a name we hear a lot.
Yeah, so Miriam, her character was called Leaf. She has... That's not her full name, is it? It's a... Her name was longer than that, but they just shortened it to Leaf. And then her husband, the voice was Simon Callow.
Oh, wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he was called Tree, which is kind of cute, Tree and Leaf.
Simon Callow, as in that guy from Four Weddings and a Funeral?
Yeah. You know,
Blimey.
Yeah, anyone that doesn't know that film, Ace Ventura 2, the guy, like the evil guy that's that stuff. Yeah, but yeah, Simon Callow, yeah.
I had no idea it was. I cannot believe I didn't realise it was them in do the voice. I didn't pick up on that at all. I once interrupted Simon Callow having a sandwich and asked him for a selfie. He didn't look very happy. I to be fair, I didn't twig he was eating until I'd already asked, if you know what I mean. He was he was near the Strand in London, and I saw him. I thought, Simon Callow, I'm going to get a selfie. I said, hello there, get a quick picky with you. And then I sort of looked down, and he sort of got a half-eaten sandwich in his hand. And suddenly it felt awkward. It's like, he's trying to find somewhere to put it down. And he did have I know, I don't think I was his best friend that day, but yeah. And Miriam Margolis I haven't got a photo with because she scared me when I met her, and it's one of my biggest regrets because I absolutely love her in the Marigold Hotel, and she's done a few other programs, which I just think she's brilliant. But she can be very... she's quite forthright sometimes the way she speaks, and just as I was thinking of getting a picture with her at a convention, she thought I took a photo of her when I didn't, and she said, did you just take a photo of me, you cheeky C words that we definitely can't use? And I went,
oh really?
Yeah, but she said it because if you know what Miriam Margolis is like, you kind of know that she's not really being nasty. She loves to be. That's just her. She's like, I can't explain it. You even know what Miriam Margolis is like, or you don't. But it shocked me, and I was so scared of it. I just couldn't go up and get a picture with her because I was like, oh my god, she just called me that word that we definitely can't say. But she did say it in a sort of comedy way, but it still was enough to scare me off. But man, do I regret it because I really like her. And she also stood up about 5 minutes after that and went, right, 5 minutes, and then I'm swear word, off out of here. So if you want a picture, get it now. And everyone's just like, oh my god, she's a bit of a character.
She's no messing about.
Yep. There is no mess with Miriam, but I tell you what, if you know what she's like, it's all done in good jest. It's not.
I read you. Yeah.
Not nasty, but yeah, if you didn't know what she's like, you'd be just like, what the hell? Yeah. So.
What did you think to her character though in this? How she voiced it?
Well, I'm kind of surprised that they managed to get two quite big actors to do this because, as I said, I didn't realize at the time, but because they're just playing it for laughs, which is what the script requires. So I'm not saying that as a put down. I didn't feel they were very sort of threatening or anything. They just provide the comedy for the story. So I thought they were good, but they certainly didn't stand out as anything special. The bit that really annoyed me actually is when they put Sarah Jane in the chair. More of a production thing than anything else, because they strapped Sarah Jane in this chair that she can clearly just get hands out of anytime she wanted, and she sat there struggling as if, I'm trapped in this chair. And they do make a great line about that chair cost us a fortune, which I thought was funny. But she could have got out of that any time, and I thought all that needed was just a tiny little special effect around the clamps on her hands as if there was a force field or something, but it just looked terrible. She could literally have just taken her arms out and I'm free. It was just some side of the production which I think just let it down. It just needed something to show that there was a reason she couldn't get her hands out of those great big holes that she'd put them through, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean, yeah.
So that I don't know what that bugged me as well, because I just thought that was such an easy fix.
A Roger Rabbit moment.
Roger Rabbit?
He's handcuffed, isn't he?
Oh, and yeah, he's got he could literally just...
Yeah, he could just take his hand out anytime, yeah.
Yeah.
So I get you, yeah. But it was, I quite like for me, the characters they were fairly standard when they were together talking to Sarah Jane or the other characters. I found them just to be quite standard, really, nothing crazy. The times that I did like them is when they were arguing between themselves.
Yeah.
So there's a bit where Leaf is like, go and fix that or whatever. And he's like, they kind of turn into like an old bickering couple. So that was quite funny when they were like that. You know, when Sarah Jane teleports back out of the ship and then she's back on Earth and then they try to do it and it's like, no, she's disabled something or she's broken it. And she's like, hurry up and fix that. And he's like, oh, I can't do it that quick. And they start bickering. That's quite funny when they're sort of bickering between themselves. But otherwise, it could have been anybody voicing those characters, you know?
I think that's why I'm surprised that having read just now who was doing the voices. Because I didn't sort of sit there thinking, oh, these two are great. Who's doing the voices for this? These two are brilliant. And so to see it was those two, Simon Callow and Miriam Margolyes, who are quite, you'd expect a better performance. And I'm not going to put the blame at their feet because I think they do fine. But maybe, again, it comes back to what I was saying about the script. The dialogue and that just isn't particularly sharp. It's just all a bit, you know, yeah, so they're a squabbling couple, so we'll put a few lines in here. And it just wasn't strong enough, I don't think, the script really. Because they should have really brought that to life, those two. Whereas, like you said, yeah, they're just a bit funny, but they don't stick in the mind at all, do they?
Not really. Like, at the end of it, I didn't think, crikey, Miriam Margolyes and stuff, they've turned in a, brilliant performance. It was like you didn't even know Simon Callow was doing it anyway.
I didn't know it was Miriam either. Didn't know it was those two. No, because I'm thinking back to the Sontaran episode. I think it kicked off series 2. We get introduced to that new Sontaran character. Can't remember his name, obviously, but I remember us both saying, he's a really good character and he really goes for it, and he's obviously looked at what's on the page and he's really put his all into it, and that's the sort of thing I'd expect from if you're getting Simon Callow and Miriam Margolyes into it. And again, I'd expect the script to be better for them to take it, to be honest.
Yeah, that was the last Sontaran.
Yeah.
It was Commander Karg.
Karg, that's it. Yeah, I liked Karg. He was good.
He was all right, wasn't he?
I mean, old Mr. What's name in his red coat from series 1. I mean, they sort of stick in my mind, as just being, funny. But these two, I wouldn't really give them a second thought, to be honest.
What was that then? Was that Eye of the Warriors of Kudlak? Do you remember?
Kudlak, yeah. Remember old Kudlak with his swishy red coat?
Yeah. What was his name? Was
Kudlak, actually?
Was it Kudlak?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah. Oh, good old times. That's what we're saying. Like, we've been spoilt by all these amazing stories. Anyways, yeah, so those characters were okay, just not very memorable. That's the only surprising thing about it.
Yeah.
But then again, this was written, so the guy that wrote this, Rupert Late, he was he's only ever written two TV stories, this and the other Sarah Jane adventure, Lost in Time.
Lost in Time.
Yeah, I think we're gonna come on to that.
Oh, we haven't watched that one yet.
No, so I think that's series 4. Yeah. So he's only ever written these two things. I mean, he's quite proficient with other stuff. He's written a Torchwood audio drama, another Sarah Jane audio drama. He's written a few books and stuff for Doctor Who, and that's it. Like his experience, if you like, is very thin on the ground. So although the majority of the story was pretty good and okay from a writing perspective, there wasn't, maybe we needed somebody with a bit more experience to write these characters, It wasn't terrible, but...
No, I was going to say, I think, any listeners listening to this that perhaps haven't watched it probably, thinking, oh, God, this story sounds awful. But again, it does just come back to what Gary said. It's not bad at all, but it is just a fact that I think the strength of the script just isn't up there with what we've had before. But it's certainly not bad. I mean, we get all the sort of attic crew thrown at us straight away in this one, don't we? So even K9 takes quite a big role in this story. So you kind of get everything thrown in, including the kitchen sink, but it doesn't lift it to the heights of the other stories. Even with all that, I don't think.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's lots in it. And K9 does get a nice meaty part in it.
He does, yeah.
And he's quite funny. Him and Clyde are quite good together because Clyde's very much the lad, as we know. And
I've got a brilliant pair enough, aren't they?
Yeah, he's like, I've got a brilliant idea. I'll ace this test because I'll just bring K9 into school. We can hide under the desk and just feed me the answers, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
But K9's very much, Mistress, what's going on? Like, he doesn't know what's going on. But so from that perspective, you can absolutely see what Rupert was trying to do with that stuff. He's like, right, let's bring K9 back because he's only had cameos up to this point. Let's give him a bit more to do. And we'll keep the Clyde stuff sort of one-liner funny and quippy and stuff. That's all good. Yeah, you can see what he's trying to do. So really, as a result of that, though, if we're going to bat the ball back over the net, unfortunately, because of that, because those guys have got loads to do, you have to we come back to this time and time again with Doctor Who and the companions in that one. When you give some of the companion stuff to do, there isn't enough screen time to have all of them doing something. You've got to sideline at least one of them, and that was Luke in this one.
Yeah.
So they literally confined him to a sofa for the majority of the 2 parts because
that's right.
Although he gets stuck in to begin with, he contracts the spores, doesn't he, from the rackweed, and that's him out. That's him out of the game until at the end of the story, really. So in one way, it's great that we still get the really cool, funny Clyde stuff, and Rani's quite good in this as well. You can see that she's quite liking Clyde at the minute. I think they allude a little bit that she quite likes him. So I'm interested to see what happens there in series 4. But you can see that Rani's getting a little bit of a soft spot for Clyde.
Yeah,
which is kind of cool. So Luke, bless him, he's just like, what am I doing in this story then? Well, you're going to lay on that couch looking ill. I can do that. Lovely.
It's an easy day on set for him on this one.
Yeah, have a bit of makeup slapped on, look like you got a rash, and just go and sit down.
Drop a phone. I was going to say it was a good cliffhanger, I thought. So it ends with a flower because you kind of know that something's going to go wrong. You keep thinking, well, obviously this plant's going to kick off, which it does. So it was quite a good cliffhanger, I thought, and a fairly decent resolution. I think Mr. Smith deserves a slap for not picking up on the plant quicker. But then he does make up for it with his big old super vent that he's got hidden behind. I mean, yeah. I bet the production team, when they saw that in the script, was like, they built this blimming Mr. Smith set, which looks quite complicated anyway. And they're like, oh, by the way, we need to put a vent behind him for this story. Oh, for goodness sake.
Yeah. And then it's going to get covered in gunge. That's going to have to be cleaned up and rebuilt again.
I did keep thinking, I bet that took ages to clean that set up. Oh.
Yeah.
So it's quite a good cliffhanger, I thought. And the plant seeds and that looked pretty good CGI for the time. What year was this?
Yeah, 2009.
2009, yeah, it looked pretty decent. The whole flower exploding and setting off these spores or petals or whatever you'd call them. Not petals, but
11 years ago, wasn't it? Yeah, 11 years.
Yeah, that all looked very good, I thought. And the stuff where they're running around the school and it's outside and there's a bit of Day of the Triffids thing going on, wasn't there? So that all looked pretty good.
It did actually, yeah. We've never had any complaints about production stuff and cinematography and all that with Sarah Jane, really, because one thing that we noted right from the off, which is fantastic about Sarah Jane, is that it all feels very much like the RTD era of Doctor Who.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Like a lot of Torchwood feels like... This might not be true, it probably isn't, but it just feels like there's a completely different crew, completely different bunch of people working on that. Whereas with Sarah Jane, it feels like everyone that's working on that also worked on the Tennant era of Who at the time. It just feels like it's all the same peeps doing it. It's just got that RTD feel about it, which is really nice.
Yeah.
What do you think to the little character twist with the Blithareen then? Because halfway through part 2, we learned that these dudes aren't strictly Blithareen. They're like there was like a mixed race family wedding sort of get together that happened a while ago. So now they're not the Slitheen, they're not the Blithareen, they're now the Slitheen Blithareen family.
Yeah.
And they try and blame the Slitheen, don't they? Like, yes, the Blithareen are the more high regarded family and stuff, but we've sort of followed the evil side of the Slitheen family, which is why we're taking over the world, sort of thing. Did you like the explanation of that? Because at first, before the plant kicked off, it was very much the Slitheen are bad, the Blithareen are the good dudes, the good ones.
Yeah.
So, but I saw that coming, to be honest with you. I saw the whole, the Slitheen Blithareen thing.
Yeah, I'll definitely. I mean, I think that is and I did like that, by the way. I thought it was quite fun, but I think that is the biggest thing, perhaps problem in brackets with this two-parter, is that I think a lot of it I did see coming. And you could say, well, yeah, but it's just a light-hearted kids show, so you can let it off to an extent, but it did feel quite predictable all the way through, actually. And now I think about it, I think maybe that's my biggest issue with it. Is it that I think that's why it feels a bit flat, because you could just sort of see everything coming, really.
Yeah.
Including that. I mean, obviously they were going to, they look so similar. Of course, they're going to be part of that. So, but it was fun. It was I like it when they start telling them the story, because they, it adds a bit of humour to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff that kicks off around all of that stuff. There's lots to talk about. We won't talk about it here, but there's the Raxus Alliance are these 4 planets that unite to do stuff. There's some books and audio dramas about that. But what's cool is that they came up with this other cool sounding planet. So the 4 planets are Clom, which we know of.
We know Clom, yeah.
Clom. Clicks. We have Raxacorico Phalapatorius, which is the Slitheen and the Blithareen and Slitheen stuff. But there's another one which is called Raxacorico Varlonpatorius, which is another very similar planet, which we don't know much about at all, really. So it's really cool that they have this backstory and this whole other realm of stuff going on with all these other planets and families and stuff. But what was most funny about it, and I thought, okay, they've got to make something out of this much hated episode. But one of the planets is where the Absorbalofs come from, and I think they call them Absorbalophians or something like that.
Yeah.
So I thought, yes, they've got to somehow elevate Love and Monsters somehow, because it's often so hated, that episode. It's like, come on, let's try and build a little bit of backstory for those guys and try and give them a bit of credibility. So that's kind of cool. So I might not, but if I'm bored for a week, I might dig into some of this Raxus Alliance stuff, because there have been a couple of comics and books and whatnot. So
is that? Oh, right, okay, yeah.
So I might have a looky.
Yeah, I was going to say that is the other good thing about anything to do with this sort of time period of Doctor Who and the Sarah Jane Adventures. They're great at building these worlds and backstory, aren't they? So it's all kind of there if you want to look into it, but it doesn't matter if you don't. But I like the fact that the thought has gone into it, that they've created that little backstory for, it just builds the world up even more, doesn't it? That RTD and everyone else in this sort of era created. I love all that sort of stuff.
Yes, the Absorbaloff of Clom.
Yeah. Is that a comic?
No, I think the Absorbaloff and his kind are from Clom.
Oh, right, okay,
Clom.
yeah.
An Absorbaloff. Every planet's got a north. Come on. Okay, last thing. What did you think to the... so at the beginning where they're chasing those dudes through the factory, the warehouse and stuff.
Oh, I like the little, is it Chris Slitheen, the little one?
The little one, I was going to say. What did you think to the very small performances we did have? Because we had little tiny Chris legging around, played by Jimmy V.
Is he been in it before? Was he in the other story, or is it supposed to be a different?
No, I think it's meant to be, well, I don't know the answer. I think it's meant to be different.
We've had a young Slitheen before, haven't we?
Yeah, I think this is a different one.
Oh, right.
So we had Chris Slitheen, and then we had his big brother, it looks like, or his dad or something, telling him off. And they put this big contraption together. But what did you think to the... Because the Slitheen, they're only in it for about 5 minutes or so at the very beginning. But, that little Chris Slitheen legging
He's
around.
funny, isn't he?
Yeah. I'd like to have seen him come back, the little one.
Yeah, no, I thought that was it was a good start, actually. All that stuff in the first sort of 5-10 minutes was really good. I liked all that stuff. But yeah, it's funny, isn't it, how you can instantly warm towards a character. And I wouldn't have minded if he'd been in it more. Little Chris Slitheen. I thought he was the one in... So which one is it? Is it series 2? Where there's like a Slitheen family and there's a little one in that that's running around.
Yeah, that's Enemy of the Bane, I think.
Yeah, but that's not the same one, is it?
I don't think it's the same. Is it the same? Is it Enemy of the Bane? Is it that one? With
I think so.
Slitheen in it again. No, that's the... No, it's not that one. Which one's that then?
You remember it, don't you? Because there's a bit... Yeah. I don't know. There's definitely one where there's a Slitheen family in it, because you sort of almost feel sorry for them at the end, don't you?
Yeah. Well, that isn't that... No, that's not the Bane one, is it? Is it Invasion of the Bane? What's the first one? Oh, Revenge of the Slitheen, sorry. From Series 1. That had a little Slitheen in it, but that was... I don't think they had names for them back then.
Oh, right. God, is that all the way back in Series 1? Doesn't feel like that long ago we watched it. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I suppose it would be, yeah.
Yeah, so that was Carl. Little Slitheen Carl.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Again, played by Jimmy V.
He's the clever kid, isn't he, at the start?
That's it, yep.
Yeah. God, I can't believe that's Series 1. I thought it was like... I actually thought in my head it was this series. Oh, man. They're all moulded into one. But yeah, that was good.
That was cool. Yeah, it's a different little Slitheen dude, but still as cute nonetheless.
Yeah.
And when they get angry, you see their little teeth as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. They as I said, they look pretty good, don't they? Considering the limitations that they would have been under when they were making this, they do look good.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So, anything else, dude? Before we put a score on it?
No, not really. No. I have noticed that the Sonic lipstick is creeping quite a lot in terms of it's becoming a bit like the Sonic in the series itself, isn't it? Where it's becoming quite useful in terms of just getting out of situations. But still not as bad as the Dr. Sonic. So yeah, no, nothing else to add really. No, I think the music and everything was good.
Sam Watts, I think, again Sam Watts.
Yeah.
Again, quite Murray Gold influenced, though.
Very much, yeah. I thought that.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything else that I had. No,
I mean, just while you're thinking, I think all the cast obviously are top notch again. You know, that the Attic crew are very, very solid in their performances. That's one thing that hasn't changed. Even if you get a slightly below par episode, the cast is still great in this. I mean, you know, you've only got to look at that end scene to just see how brilliant these guys are together. And Liz is great, of course. I love the bit where she's got the big vinegar gun. And she's like, you know, she just says to him, I'm not going to take any nonsense from you guys. And you really believe it. So, yeah. But yeah, the whole cast, everything was absolutely fantastic in this, even if it was a bit below par.
Yes. Yeah. The only other thing, I like the little mention of Perryvale. So when we watched the little news report, Rackweed spreading all over, Ealing, Perryvale, Acton, and all that stuff. Chiswick got mentioned as well. But otherwise, no. It's there was a little allude to the five doctors. So in part 2, Clyde says to Rani, "Well, what would Sarah Jane do in this situation?" And Rani's like, "Well, she does what she always does, which is improvise," which is almost word for word what Pertwee's doctor says in the 5 Doctors about Sarah.
Oh, right. And I hadn't picked up on that.
Yeah, that was quite nice. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Other than that, dude. A little side note, a little bit of trivia. Noel Clarke as Mickey was meant to be in this story.
Was he?
Yeah, he was meant to be in it as part of UNIT. But Noel Clarke, so he was written in it. It was all ready to go, but he became unavailable. He just couldn't do it, so they dropped him. They had to write his character out. But yeah, it would have been a Mickey story. That
would have taken it in a different direction then, because UNIT aren't even in it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting indeed. Right.
That probably would have added something to it, for sure, to be honest with you. That might have actually taken it up a notch that it needed, but yeah.
Well, yeah, the more you think about that, the more cool it sounds, yeah. Alas, no Mickey, though. Right, scores, dude. I think it's you to go first.
Yeah, I'm going to rate this a 6 out of 10.
A 6? Okay, cool.
A 6. It was, it's fun, good, but just a bit average.
Okay, I'm going to go with a 6.5.
A 6.5, okay.
Yeah, I think my 0.5 is probably just because I still judge it on my watching through anything to do with Doctor Who. Do I reach for my phone at various points throughout stories and stuff? And I have to say I did, but it was only once or twice, or maybe once in each episode, and that was your lot.
Yeah.
That was your lot. So, but yeah, like you, an enjoyable story. Certainly not a clanger, but just sort of would have been good to have a bit more substance to it for a finale, is all.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, very light on the audio clips this week. We had one in, which is from our regular reviewer as always, so thank you very much. This is Sammy Slitheen, Dan Under.
Hey, Gary and Adam, Sammy Slitheen here. So, The Gift, the Blithareen, brown versions of the Slitheen, also from Maxicorico Falapatorius. This isn't my favourite Sarah Jane Adventures story. It's alright. I can tell as soon as the Blithareen are way too nice and hand over a plant that they're in trouble. Also, Saved by the Bell. Who knew you could destroy a plant and the Blithareen with sound? Yeah, I don't find it awful, but it's predictable. Still, more plot than in The Forest of the Night. Anyway, I give it 6 rackweeds out of 10. Stay safe, wash your hands, see ya.
Okay.
6, same as me.
6, not loving it, but not hating it either. We are washing our hands, Sammy. Don't worry.
Yes.
We know the rules. Don't worry. But thank you very much, though, for that, Sammy. Your regular review-ness is cool as always. We had a few over on the socials. Over on Twitter, we had Dan Peters, probably one of my least favourite SJA stories. I think out of all of them, this is quite clearly aimed at kids, in brackets, farting and gunge. However, it's still a good laugh, and I love K9 getting involved, a 6 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Our writer, Jordan Shortman. Actually, I remember, Jordan Shortman's been doing these really cool reviews of the old Virgin Doctor Who stories, the books that were out many moons ago. And the one he put on recently was really, really good review. It's a McCoy story. It's really cool. So just while I read his name and remembered, head over to the website to check out his reviews of the Great Virgin adventure books from back in the day. They're very cool. Anyway, he says, a strange story. I like the Blithareen, but some of the farting jokes and get a little old. I remember watching this one live and thinking it wasn't doing anything for me. It still doesn't, but it's nice to finally get K9 involved properly.
Yeah, true, yeah.
Our dude, Adam Mamoon, the Ultimate Whovian, as he used to be known, a man of film now, says, if this was an episode of Friends, it'd be called The One with Miriam Margoyles. Yes, it would, Ad.
I can't believe I didn't know it was her, Ad.
Yeah. John Griffith says, after a cracking set of episodes leading up to this point, this fell flat. There's only so many fart jokes you can do. Could have done the whole lot in 30 minutes. 5.5 gaseous ejections from me. Oh dear. Lastly on Twitter, Caitlin Dalek 100 says, it's an okay story with a rather good concept. However, the Blithareen were a bit much to take seriously, although it does genuinely work quite well for being a kids show. A very fun and kid-friendly story. It's not great, but it's still somewhat enjoyable. A 6 out of 10.
Another 6.
Another 6. And we had a couple on Facebook. Toby Coleman says, a fond nostalgia trip for me. I remember watching this on CBBC back in the day. I enjoy the Blithareen and the scenes with them and Liz Sladen on the ship. The rackweed is an interesting concept that reminds me of the plague in the 3rd Doctor episode, The Silurians. Clyde and Rani are brilliant and a clever way of using K9 by Clyde sneaking him into school to cheat at a test. Luke didn't have much to do, but he needed to be the one to be ill and is rarely in the narrative. So an 8 out of 10 for me. Wow, an 8.
An 8.
Nice one, Toby. And lastly, Charlie Turner says, nice to see the Blithareen on screen after they got mentioned in Revenge of the Slitheen back in Series 1. and we're in the Doctor Who Ninth Doctor novel, The Monsters Inside. The Gift was a pretty good plot. Needs a rewatch though, but I can remember enjoying it for what it was. Another 8 out of 10.
All right, okay.
So the Facebook peeps liking it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Twitter, not so much. So that's it. Thank you very much for your scores. I think overall we're looking at a 6 for this, I would say. Average score. Yep.
Yeah, I reckon.
So not to worry though. Not to worry. We're going to be back onto SJA later on in the year, because what we're up to now, dude.
Right, so from the next episode, we are going to be doing the Key to Time season, starting with the Ribos Operation. So we'll be reviewing the Ribos Operation next week, and then the rest of the Key to Time for the rest of, well, it'll be July and the beginning of August, I guess.
Indeedy, yes.
Because it's 6 stories, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so for the next 6 weeks, it's all 4th Doctor Tom Baker action as we crack through the Key to Time box set, which is going to be fun.
Well, I hope so, because Tom's my favourite Doctor, but I really struggle with this series, Key to Time season. And the last time I watched the Ribos Operation, I don't remember liking it particularly, but who knows, because that's happened before, and then we've watched it and I've loved it. So let's see. It's been a while since I delved into the Key to Time. So I don't know what to expect, to be honest.
Well, I've not seen it in ages. So I'm hoping it's going to be one of those, okay, I've not seen it in a while, but it's actually pretty sweet.
That's what I'm hoping.
Kind of things. So anyway, I know that this box set has got both its big fans and its not so fans out there. So we'll see what happens. We're going to treat this like we did with the Trial of a Time Lord stuff. We're going to crack through it. Otherwise, we don't know how to do it. It's just going to litter it throughout the year and it won't make sense. So next week, the Ribos Operation. And I think we'll do there, dude, for 272.
Okay. Splat.
That was my Slitheen / Blithareen impression. There we go. Thank you so much. That I didn't need to do that, did I? I didn't need to bring the humour level down to the
No, but it actually made me laugh more than the episode. So
thank you so much for sticking with the show and listening this week to episode 272. It's been great having you on board, as always. Like I said earlier, thank you very much to anyone that's jumped onto the podcast recently. It's great to have you here. And the long-timers, the grizzled ancients, it's great to have you back, as always. Thank you so much for all of your thoughts on the this week's review story, The Gift. We won't be looking at Sarah Jane now until the endish of August, as we kick off Series 4. So between that time, though, as Adam said, next week we're going to kick off the Key to Time story arc with the Ribos Operation. So get your DVDs out for that. We'll be asking for your thoughts and views on all that stuff. In the meantime, head over to the website bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all of our previous shows on there, plus there are links to go off to the various podcast apps and networks. If you want to give us a sub, that would be awesome. That way you won't miss a show when it lands every single Friday. And if you've got a minute to leave us a review, that would be amazing, because it helps us out lots and lots. We're on the socials too, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Do a search for us on those things, or click the buttons on the site. It will take you over there. We'd love to connect with you on there as well. We chat lots of Doctor Who during the week. We have a free Discord server as well. There's a link to that on the website. Come and hang out and chat lots of Doctor Who. There's loads of channels over on the Discord server, such as General, which is not that exciting, but we have merch news, Big Finish, events and cons, memes, classic Who, modern Who, post your collections. That's a really good channel, actually, watching people post pics of their Doctor Who collections. So come and join in on Discord. It's a great place to hang out and chat Who. Also, check out my co-host channel over on YouTube, The Geek's Handbag.
Yes, indeed.
Loads of cool vids from Ad over there. Just get yourself comfy and dig into those. He's on the socials too under the same name. Until next week, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember, Allons-y.